barely made it. I was pushing record and got tangled up in my cables.
Well, you know, I'm glad you were able to make it to the show.
Did you see what I'm wearing today?
I did. I love that coat. That is an absolutely brilliant coat. Where'd you get that?
You.
Haha. I knew the answer. I knew the answer to that
We
question.
like to swap. We like friends like swapping. I'm Jay Friesen.
I'm Brian Mattson.
And this is Dead Reckoning.
This is the Spindle of our Dead Reckoning show, where we view current events through the lens of the Christian faith.
Exactly. So, on today's episode, Brian's going to be talking about jihadists and what you can do not to be one. And I'm going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, we're so excited.
I love video games.
Not.
I don't think you're going to be excited about what I have to say about it.
Yep.
And on our other episode segment, Above the Pay Grade, Joshua Kimball.
Joshua Kimball, he is an accomplished cartoonist and graphic novelist, and we're excited to have him come on the show and talk to us about his Christian faith and his artwork, and you'll want to stick around for that.
And you notice we have this week the commentary, Above the Pay Grade, and the Spindle, and you're like, wait a minute, you usually have like In Honor of the Pig or Dad Life. Well, guess what? We have a very special In Honor of the Pig coming for you next week, early next week, hosting your own open house happy hour with homemade chips, margaritas, and salsa.
We're going to be filming that this coming Friday. We're actually going to film that in Jay's kitchen, where he prepares his own open
Almost
house.
every Friday,
Open house.
my wife and I have started a tradition of open house happy hours, where basically we put up an open invite, say if you're around the neighborhood, join us, because here's what we're having. It's
and
delicious.
we're going to show you how to do it.
How to do it. It's awesome. The number one question I get: how do you make homemade tortilla chips?
It's pretty cool too.
Very cool.
So-
So all right, Spindle.
So what's on your Spindle?
I'm
What's
gonna
on
go
the current
first,
events?
since I have two.
What's going on? All right.
One is just a kind of another FYI. You need to be watching this, and it was posted on 22words.com. A man's buddies decided to replumb his entire house to dispense beer out of every single faucet. It's awesome.
Hey, man, good friends. I mean, with friends like those, you don't need enemies.
I
man.
know, and here's why I
fantastic.
think it's worth watching, because of the man's reaction.
Okay.
And he reacted. Here's his reaction when he found out. His wife, first of all, and typically we know how wives can be when something disastrous and unexpected happens to the plumbing of our house.
Like trying to do your dishes and you turn on your faucet
You're
and
like,
beer comes
crap,
out.
There's
Yeah.
beer. She goes, well, honey, we better have somebody over for the game. And he comes out,
Sweet.
sees all his buddies, and goes, party at my place.
That's yeah. I would hate to. Wouldn't you hate to like clean the shower after you've like turned on the faucet? It's just like sticky beer
be like,
all over your shower. Oh man, that's so disgusting. That is gross. Bathing in beer.
So, but think about this for a second. Something completely unexpected happened to your home, and in this case, your your plumbing in your house. There's no water anymore. It's gone. It's all beer. Out of every single faucet, it's all beer.
He thought he died and went to heaven.
You know, most of the times when something unexpected and happens to us, we can respond a variety of ways. You remember the time you did a practical joke on your buddy and he turned around and punched you.
Or wanted to punch you.
Wanted to punch you. Well, similar things happened to me in my car when I inadvertently cut somebody off. I had a guy the other day and he was just raging. I think it was because I didn't have my
Turn signal?
front turn signals burned out. And I didn't have it on. I was sitting in the middle of the intersection waiting for the cars to go straight, and also just like all in his car. I ruined the guy's day. Completely ruined his day.
That's very sad that somebody would be so captive to events external and outside of his control, that he's so enslaved to external circumstances that the response is bitterness and anger and bile. Now, Jesus tells us, of course, that out of the heart the mouth speaks. So what it means when somebody cuts you off and your immediate response is, it means that's what's right here. So, and that's what's bubbling up. So,
and on a base level, you've got the immaturity of a pig.
Yeah, that
because
too.
you're just responding to your circumstances and letting just whatever.
So maybe you need to start cleaning out what's in here.
You, my friend, are responsible for your reactions.
That is very true.
So, all right, that was my Spindle item. Go out and watch that. I will put the link in the show notes.
You know, it reminds me of a really another cool internet video that we should post, and that is the TV ad. The company that is advertising their brand new HD TV sets up an office. This is amazing. I'm gonna put this in the show notes. They set up an office.
This was good.
And they fabricated it so that the HD TV looked like the window of the city outside the building, and they had hidden cameras for people who walked in for the job interview, and then recorded their
from
reactions.
This side of the screen. See this from this side of the screen?
Yeah, as they're having their job interview.
Strike.
A meteor is coming in to destroy the city, and all of the people who are in the interview start going like this. They have this all recorded. They go, and they stand up and start pointing, and they fall over backward. It's absolutely hilarious. It's all on a TV, and of course, it's a brilliant ad campaign. Our TV is so realistic. We were able to fool these people into thinking that their city just got destroyed by a meteor.
It's really funny.
Fantastic. I want to talk about jihadists. I want to talk about Islam.
Okay, let's change the topic from funny to really serious really fast.
Funny to really serious really fast. We have a real global problem that not enough people are talking about. We have ancient Christian communities. By ancient, I mean 2,000 years or so. Ancient Christian communities in Egypt, in Syria, in Turkey that are being systematically wiped out, exterminated, or kicked out as refugees. The Christians are under intense persecution. In Egypt, their properties are being destroyed. In Syria, they are being just systematically executed by bloodthirsty Muslim extremists. Now, recently in Pakistan, just the other day, 2 suicide bombers blew themselves up outside a Christian worship service and killed 82 people, innocent men, women, and children. On top of that, jihadist terrorists, some of them perhaps homegrown right here in the USA, attacked a shopping mall in Nairobi, Kenya, where they massacred many people, and their criteria for discrimination of who we kill and who we don't are we let the Muslims go and we shoot and we kill the Christians. Now, Jay, here's what I want to say about this. I keep hearing about this religion of peace. I keep hearing about this wonderful, noble, ancient faith that is loving and merciful and peaceful. And here's what I want to say to my Muslim friends who are listening. You need to prove it. You need to prove it. Now, listen, I understand that in any religious community, I mean, Lord knows in any religious community, there are outliers, there are extremists, there are people on either end of a bell curve. But you know what? When Fred Phelps in Westboro Baptist Church goes and does something really, truly obnoxious, holding up signs as God hates fags or this and that, you know what? Pretty much the Christian community as a whole rises up and says that they don't speak for me. They don't speak for us. There's outrage, genuine outrage. Listen, where are you, Muslim leaders? Where is your outrage about 82 dead Christians in Pakistan? Where is your outrage about hundreds of churches burned to the ground in Egypt? Where's your outrage about the mall killings in Nairobi? You have an opportunity, and I'm waiting. If it is a religion of peace, prove it. I want to see the outrage, because it is an outrage.
Well said. I'm going to bring up a little more violence and decrepitness of human nature.
How you can be your very own jihadist.
On Tuesday.
A couple days ago.
It was Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday. I forget now. Doesn't really matter. Gamers everywhere flocked to the nearest GameStop and purchased, by day 2, they purchased over $1 billion worth of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Did you say $1 billion?
It's at $1 billion.
In 2 days of sales? Okay, now wait a minute. How long did it take James Cameron's Avatar to achieve $1 billion at the box office?
The stats are there. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 weeks, or
it was quite a while,
month or something like that.
A single video game made $1 billion in 2 days. Okay, cool. This game must be awesome, Jay. Tell us all about it.
Well, it is. It is pretty awesome. Otherwise, nobody would buy it. I particularly am not a fan of this particular genre, and that is choose your own evil thing to do genre.
Yeah.
And here's the reason, and this is where you might, if you have younger listeners in the audience, you may want to
if you're listening,
turn it down.
Listening on the audio podcast, and you know kids are in the car seats in the back, you may want to. But Mom, don't turn it off. There's a point.
So there is a point. So the first scene is a torture scene. You torture a particular victim to get some information out of him various ways and lengthy ways. You yank his teeth out with pliers. You smash his knees with a pipe wrench. You electrocute him with jumper cables. And I think finally you waterboard him.
This is your everyday average,
And there is, with all these video games, most of the gameplay is not without reason or without point. And this is the same. It happens to be the same.
Sure, there's a story.
There's always stories, and there's same thing kind of is the case of this. Only you come to find out after you torture him, and they do make you torture him all those different ways. You really didn't need to, because you probably would have spilled the information afterwards, and that at which point your main character goes, well, the torturing is for the torturer. It has nothing to actually do with the torturee. So you can imagine this social statement they're trying to make there, which is common. Social statements are common in the game. The other scene that is up for much debate and is a strip club, where the goal of the character is to I'm assuming, I've watched these scenes, I haven't played the game, but I'm assuming, like most things, you want to get her number, she's going to be a contact later on in the game, there's a point to it. Well, in this case, you get a lap dance from her, and if you do it well enough, you can get a double lap dance
if
with 2 women.
If you do it well enough.
And women can they're all of each other. They're
and this is also, I mean, you got to realize, people,
they're topless, by the way. They are topless wearing
these games
G-strings.
Are the graphic abilities of these games is such now that this is extraordinarily real life. I mean, this is not cartoonish. I mean, this is a
No, it is.
This is a
that's
strip
true.
club.
And so the women are all over each other, and you can make your choice whether you want to talk with them or flirt with them, or what have you. Touch them, and you can zoom your cameras in and out, move them all around, so you can get right up and close with the stripper's body parts.
This is virtual pornography.
And at the end, you go home with her, and you hear some like in all Gran Turismo games, there's the element
This is a Grand Theft Auto.
I said it again. In all the Grand Theft Auto franchise, and I've played Grand Theft Auto 3 and 4 to a limited extent, you're always picking up hookers, and there's always sexual sounds and
very adult. This
innuendos.
is an adult franchise, right?
And so the same thing happens at the end of this scene. So these two scenes are what people are really kind of like, oh my gosh, and they're uncomfortable. Like neither of them. Well, some guys might think the strip club is comfortable. The torture scene is very uncomfortable in Grand Theft Auto, and so my point being, when you see a maturity rating, especially as a parent, they're there for a purpose. You're making conscious decisions as the player of what you want to do, how you want to engage. And if your 13-year-old son is sitting there playing this game, for instance, because you're clueless, he is actually determining how he wants to manipulate the stripper so he gets his way, manipulate, kill, maim. I mean, the whole basis of the game is to kill and destroy.
It's to be an evil person. And to make as many immoral choices as you can possibly make. And the amazing thing is that, yes, parents actually go and buy this game for their children. Now, I mean, look, if you don't want your 13-year-old, I mean, in real life, if you would not want your 13-year-old going into a strip club and getting a lap dance and picking up a hooker and taking her home, or shooting people or torturing people, waterboarding them or yanking their teeth out, if you wouldn't want them doing that in real life, you're letting them do that by buying them this game. This is kind of a parenting issue here.
Yeah, and a full-grown adult. I don't want to digress too much in the morality of video games and how much they're killing our culture.
Although there is something to say about that.
There is something to say about that, but they're typically used as escapism. Mature adults will kind of see them that way. They can play them that way. I'm going to choose not to just ingest that kind of thing in my life. And I've got a lot of video games. I enjoy playing video games. I love the Halo franchise. I've played Skyrim. I've got Gran Turismo, of course, is one of my all-time favorites. And there's an aspect of morality, and what is a good morality and a bad morality in a video game. But
usually you've got good guys and bad guys, and you're part of the good guys.
Think about this. If you're a parent of a teenager, or you are a youth pastor, I guarantee you every one of your students has either played this or has a friend who's playing this right now.
And
or they have played it themselves.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
They've experienced it.
Great thing to keep in mind.
And the cultural implications of video games and how much they're affecting our culture is huge. It's huge. So you need to have some discretion on how to interact and engage with this stuff, just like a movie. Video games it's not Pac-Man anymore.
Right. And that's the interesting thing. I mean, movies are one thing. You can have a violent movie, but what's interesting about it is that you're entirely passive in a movie setting. A filmmaker is presenting something to you, and you are a passive receiver. In a game like Grand Theft Auto 5, you are not a passive receiver. You are the active agent, and you're choosing to be an active agent that's pretty much wholly immoral. In a seedy underworld of crime and brutality, it has a cultural impact, and it's going to be more of a conversation, Jay, as our culture as we move forward in the future, because, for example, the naval shipyard shooter recently kills 12 people. Well, it comes out that he was a very avid gamer, and this guy would stay up all night in first-person shooter games doing this. And of course, there's other issues. He's got mental health issues, and one of the problems in our culture is that we always want to identify just one cause for some catastrophe, just one thing. It's the gun. It was the availability of the gun, right? It would be just as much a mistake to say it was the video game.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not saying it was the video game, but our culture needs to have this conversation. It was absolutely relevant. The gun was relevant. Gun laws are relevant. His mental health is relevant, and the video game is relevant. And the video game is relevant. And I find it odd that all the people who want to blame an object, particularly the gun, the same people who want to blame a gun in that case, will have nothing to do with saying anything about the video game because of some kind of a First Amendment. Oh, you're for censorship and you're all that. Well, you don't have to be for censorship to say, maybe we should talk about this. This is kind of disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, don't shy away from the subject. And and you know what? Christians out there, you're not going to do a single stinking thing to get rid of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, so
you can rail against it all you want, but it has sold over $1 billion in 2 days.
Your boycott?
They're expecting something like 30 million copies by March.
That's amazing.
I mean, just mind-blowing. No film, no television show, nothing gets that. And that's the video game culture. That's where it's at. So instead of railing on it, discuss it, talk about it, play the games your kids are playing, enjoy playing them with them.
Unless it's Grand Theft Auto 5.
Have some discretion in your household, for crying out loud.
Grow up.
Don't buy your 6-year-old Grand Theft Auto 5 just because all his other friends have it.
Don't buy your 13-year-old or your 15-year-old. As a matter of fact,
I don't recommend.
Let me say this: if the human being we're talking about is living under your roof, do not buy this game for them. Okay,
or yourself.
That's my opinion. So, and that's what we're here for. That's what the Spindle is all about. This is Dead Reckoning, and that's Jay Friesen.
You've heard me mention.
I'm Brian Manson.
Okay. I'm not going to close the show yet.
Sheesh, you're just railing, aren't you?
You heard me talk about Gran Turismo. Buy that game. Comes out December 3rd, I think, or December 6th. Gran Turismo 6. Best driving simulator ever. I've got 2 steering wheel setups, and when my son he's 3, but when he gets older, I'm going to race him around the track.
Race him around the track. That sounds awesome. Okay, well, thanks for the plug. By the way, makers of Gran Turismo.
Thank you.
DRTV at redfutonfilms.com. You can send us the check for the plug.
I'm Jay Friesen again.
I'm Brian Matson, and this is Dead Reckoning.